heading out now for race one. Let's join Simon Hill for the grid.
Thanks, Gemma. Well, beautiful sunshine here at Anglesey. Greets poleman Nick Whale, just ahead of Pete Morris, Colin Simpson, Mark Stevenson, Craig Wilkins, Colin Broster, Paul Mace, George Brewster, Andy Ruhan, and Gary Eastwood in 10th on the grid. Tommy Dreelan and Tommy Carrera, 11th and 12th, Alwyn Williams, David Back, Duncan Cameron, Jeff Ledley in his first ever race, Ian Hartley, Stephen Taylor, Leon Price and Barclay Dougal in the M3 GTR. John Dillon, Lee Atkins, very quick in that BMW Z4, Bertie Carruthers, Taylor, Bothrill, Nathan and Fiona James rounds out the grid in her Ginetta G50. Great group of cars, fantastic weather, fantastic circuit, and I'm joined by a great driver, Rob Bath. You know all about sports car racing. What's this rolling start like for these guys?
Well, it's not the neatest rolling start I've ever seen, Simon, but fantastic circuit here at Anglesey and another huge grid of cars, and the circuit giving us plenty of opportunity for overtaking. Lots of long straights into tight corners, and Nick Whale already making his escape at the front of the field in an RPM Porsche.
Vastly experienced Nick Whale, of course, a former touring car driver, really enjoying racing in this championship, and he's looking very strong here at Anglesey. Not a circuit that the touring cars have visited, but certainly the GT Cup are looking like they're having a great race already.
Yes, Nick Whale safely through Rocket, up into Peel next, Simon Peel. Quite a tight right-hander, then that leads down into the corkscrew and onto the Tom Price straight. So through Peel at the moment, the circuit falls away down, and they're coming round the corkscrew now.
Looking very strong at this stage of the race is Colin Simpson. You saw the blue Marcos, easily identifiable, a fantastic picture. He's been so successful in various different forms of sports car racing, and he's looking strong at this stage of the race on lap times to edge his way towards the front of the pack. But it is Nick Whale already has got himself a little break. Very, very difficult to do because the cars are so evenly matched. There is some equalisation done with ballast and so on and so forth, but really it's more down to driver skill, set up and preparation of the car. And with RPM, he's got one of the top teams in sports car racing, of course, current British GT champion, so they know how to go about winning races, and almost won the Porsche Carrera Cup with Tim Harvey a few years ago, Rob.
Yes, very experienced team under the guidance of Robin Mortimer, and we saw Colin Simpson there putting Craig Wilkins under a lot of pressure. And is he by Wilkins now? No, not quite. He's still sitting behind that white Porsche. So Simpson in the blue Marcos, Williams in the white Porsche. Went into Church, he's gone for it on the inside, and he's, well, I think Wilkins left the door open there. Very gentlemanly piece of driving to let Simpson through, and he's really got the hammer down the back straight and then up into the braking area. Television doing the gradient no justice there, and Simpson almost overdoes it, giving Wilkins the chance to come back on the inside, but Wilkins making good his escape now.
Yeah, it is in fact Simpson that's just edging away from Wilkins. Wilkins now starting to put under more and more pressure himself, as we see the scrap between Tommy Dreelan in the 56 car, under a little bit of pressure there from the 35 car.
That's Andy Ruhan.
Yeah, and he's relatively inexperienced. In fact, there's a lot of guys that are making their forays into motorsport at this stage, and now Pete Morris is getting more and more pressure from Simpson.
So Simpson putting a lot of pressure on Pete Morris. Pete, very accomplished Porsche Cup racer, dabbled in British GT himself. He defends hard on the run down the back straight and coming into the final turn. Yes, he's still just defending hard from Simpson as they come past the start-finish line.
Yeah, and we now look at one of the other scraps that's unfolding it down the inside, a real last of the late breakers there.
That was Stephen Taylor trying to stick a move on Ian Hartley, and he's ended up losing a position into the BMW.
Yeah, Barclay Dougal in that wonderfully wonderful looking M3 GTR. This is again one of the great things that we really enjoy about GT Cup. You've got this fantastic mixture. Now, what's the strengths and weaknesses of these two cars here, Rob? The Marcos and the Porsche. It looks to me like the Marcos has got the power and the Porsche has got the handling. Is that about right?
I think so. The Marcos will probably have the top-end power to get by. The Porsche's got fabulous traction with the engine being out over the rear wheels, but look at Simpson, streaks away in a straight line, and riding on board now with Lee Atkins in that beautiful Z4 BMW, meticulously prepared and being driven fabulously as well. I know you're a big fan of Lee Atkins, Si.
Yeah, he's been very quick. He, of course, won the Radical Championship with Phil Quaife of the Quaife Gearbox family fame. He's an absolutely brilliant scrap with John Taylor, the two of them. Well, again, this is a classic case where you can see mixture of driver experience, different specs of car, different levels of experience and expertise. That really is starting to average this all out, and that's what makes the racing so close. And as you said earlier, Rob, on a circuit like Anglesey, you've got straights, you've got fast corners, you've got tight corners, you've got a little bit of everything which keeps everybody busy. Ian Hartley in front of the scrap there that's continuing on with Stephen Taylor. They're trying to go the long way round, but not quite getting it stopped, Rob.
No, Stephen Taylor, he went for the move. He got a point for trying and got very good drive out on the exit. I think that Ferrari's probably got slightly more power than the BMW, but oh, that's our leader. That's Nick Whale. He's slowing coming out of church.
Well, he does look like he's in some sort of fairly major trouble, whatever that is. It's obviously causing him a huge problem, and it looks like that's going to result in a visit to the pits, and that's going to hand the initiative to one of the other guys here in the front. Mark Stevenson in the 73 car there, putting more and more pressure on George Brewster, one of the many Scottish drivers that are enjoying racing in this category, in Apex Tubulars. Jim Giddy's company, very, very successful in the oil industry. A lot of these guys are based up in the Aberdeen area. Stevenson, he's done a bit of Porsche Carrera Cup. Pretty experienced guy, and you can hear down through the gears, bit of a clunk as they go down the gears. You have to give them a real big blip when you're changing down in these cars, don't you, Rob?
Certainly do, bringing the engine revs up to match the speed of the wheels, and these two guys are absolutely side by side. This is almost touring car style racing in these big Porsches. Atkins makes the move. Remember, he's not even in the same class as that Porsche, so he's really mixing it with the big boys.
Yeah, John Taylor in a Class 2 car, Lee Atkins in a Class 3 car. As you can see, you mentioned RPM Motorsport earlier there. They're going to be working hard to try to find out what the problem is with Nick Whale's car, but whatever it is, it does look like it's going to cause him to retire fairly early. As you see Duncan Cameron in the 20 Ferrari right on board with Duncan, having a scrap with Jeff Ledley, and that's Jeff's first race we were saying earlier.
Certainly is. Jeff, very, very experienced track day driver. He's in the 430 on the right-hand side with the yellow stripes. Duncan Cameron coming through on the inside in the 360 with the rear wing, and Jeff immediately attacking back there. Great stuff from both these drivers, and Jeff probably punching above his weight in his first race.
Yeah, well, you'd think so, wouldn't you? Certainly look like. If you look again at Tommy Dreelan, and he's another of the lads that's come down from Scotland, and he's having a great scrap with the other Tommy Carrera in a Ferrari, or Ferrari versus Porsche. That's one of the great sports car battles. Barclay Dougal, well, he's all that wonderful aerodynamic appendages on the car there. Didn't really keep him on the road that time, Rob.
No. As soon as you get on the grass, although the cars have got big slick tyres, there's no grip at all. As we see Stephen Taylor, last of the late breakers, coming down into the hairpin, and he's made it round that lap. So much better, much more accurate stuff there from Taylor.
Now the Porsche involved there, David Bottrell in the little 944. As we go back to watching Wilkins having a fairly lonely run in third position. Very versatile driver, Rob, isn't he?
Certainly is, though. Versatile driver, racing a Dodge Viper in the British GT Championship. So front engine V10 one weekend, rear engine flat 6 the next.
That Broster trying to look to the inside of Stevenson. Although both these guys have been quick so far this season, this scrap's going to run and run. But back at the front now is Pete Morris. As we start, I think this is the last lap now. He's got closer and closer to our leader, Colin Simpson. And it's Porsche versus Marcos as we go into the final part of the lap, Rob.
Yes, the tyres on the Marcos, they could be going off. These slightly longer races, when you've got a car like the Marcos, which is working its rear tyres very hard, they can go off slightly. And whether Pete Morris has been perhaps keeping his powder dry, looking after the equipment for a last push, we'll have to wait and see. They've got about, as you say, about half the lap remaining, so real battle to the checkered flag now.
Yeah, Dreelan and Carrera, this scrap's going to run and run, and just around the outside we also saw the 88 car of Leon Price, just minding his own business. But you can see as the car snakes under the braking and they make their way out of the last turn for the last time, it is just Colin Simpson from Pete Morris who takes victory at Anglesey. A superb drive, really controlled the power ever so well there. So Simpson by just 0.6 of a second from Morris, Craig Wilkins, Mark Stevenson and Colin Broster, George Brewster, Andy Ruin, Gary Eastwood, Tommy Carrera and Tommy Dreelan round out the top 10 in classes. Class win is Simpson from Stevenson and George Brewster. Class 2, Pete Morris from Craig Wilkins and Colin Broster. And finally in Class 3, again it's Lee Atkins from David Bottrell and Russ Nathan.
So Lee, a fantastic race and quite a few position changes there.
Yes, car number 42, I don't know the guy's name I'm afraid, but we had a fantastic battle. I must say one of the best of my racing career, so nice and clean, both of us used our mirrors. It was just fantastic racing, how it should be.
Absolutely, and battling of course with the Class 2 car.
Yes, and that's always fun.
I was trying to chase the Marcus down, his tyres were going off at the end. I needed 3 or 4 more laps, but it was cracking, and the back Marcus behaved themselves. I got the pace, Nick lost the gearbox, I believe. So yeah, I mean, it's what happens. You're running in front. You can't go missing gears. So it's like you missed a gear. But I enjoyed it.
Colin, massive congratulations. You held Pete off really well towards the end of that race.
Well, I think it was probably more luck than skill, to be honest. It was good. It was a really good race, you know. I don't know what happened to the first car. Obviously, something went wrong, but I think he'd have been away, you know. But it was good. I mean, I pulled away from Pete, and then I knew my tyres were starting to go off, and I knew that he was just coming and coming. And I was keep watching, and I have a wee clock, and I was looking. I thought, must be this lap. No, not another one, you know. So it was good.
Well, sadly, gearbox failure is what caused Nick Whale to retire from the lead of that last race. If he can get the problem sorted, however, he can start race 2 from the back of the grid. Find out what happens right after the break. Welcome back. Joining me now is Nick Whale. Nick, you've had gearbox problems in race 1. What happened?